In this video, I'm just going to make a couple of uh, final refinements to this model before we move it to the next phase. And it's really just taking a few moments to look back on, all the things that we've gone through as we've created this model and delete things that have been duplicated or redone, make things match properly, and make some general adjustments. So I'm going to start with the structural system, and then I'll move on to the architectural one. For the structural, I'm going to begin by deleting the columns that we drew early on. Try to fix the visibility issue here that I'm having with the roof on the frontispiece. The frontispiece is just not showing up. The ceiling here is not showing up, even though it's showing up on the um, actual file for the frontispiece. And if I show my hidden elements, it's actually showing up here, but I can't grab it. So there's some little issue going on here, and I don't know what it is, but I'm going to do a little workaround for that part. And we also have to adjust the structural floor because it's a little bit higher. You can see it back here. So we're going to fix those structural elements first, and then we'll move on to the architectural ones. We're going to uh, work with these columns that we created earlier on and shift the stairs around a little bit so that they're in the right place and that they look good. And then I'm going to work on the front door on the first floor and add one to the second floor a little bit. And then we'll adjust the path of this cornice as well. So let's begin just by deleting these columns here. And these were fun to learn how to make structural columns as they related to levels at the beginning of the project. But we have since learned how to make column extrusions that are have a really beautiful profile and are made from travertine, although they probably have some rebar inside to give them extra support. So I'm going to go ahead and delete those now. Um, I have been trying a couple of different methods to extend this roof over to this area, and it is not working. It's being blocked by this cornice, but even when I adjust the sweep path of this cornice, it just does not want to share its roof um, with the edges that are brought in by this linked model. And so, that's just something that Revit doesn't want us to do too much to actually touch this LinkedIn model that we base off of things that are modeled in the building shell model, if that's clear. Um, and that's just one of the things that you learn as you work with Revit. And every time you do a different kind of project, you learn something different about Revit. So that's going to be a problem there. I don't want to adjust my wall heights all that much because then it's going to mess with the cornices that I have created here, because the cornices are attached or are related to the 3D edge of the wall. So if I adjust the wall, it's going to mess up the cornice. So what I need to do is just a very simple um, either plane or extrusion here that I can paint to match this roof here. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and paint this roof something that would be a little bit more realistic. And so we could grab it and hit edit type. And for structure, we'll change the structure, and if it doesn't change to our liking, we'll go ahead and paint it. But we're going to do lightweight concrete. So because it's painted, it doesn't matter what the structure is. So let's go ahead and paint it. Okay. I am going to go ahead and just take a look at this concrete pattern just in the materials library because it's driving me a little nuts that it's tiling. That's a pet peeve of mine. I'm going to adjust the sample size so that at least if it's going to tile, it's not going to be quite that bad. Actually, it's a pretty dense pattern. I'm going to make it even bigger. There you go. So that looks a little bit better. I bet it's not going to let me paint this because it's a LinkedIn file, but let's just see if Revit will let me do it. So I'll go ahead and change that to the same scale so that they match. Not that we'll really be able to see it, but just so that we've got that consistency there. Okay, so I've got that figured out. I'm going to go ahead and try to create a very unimposing ceiling here, and I'm just going to see if it'll let me do it. Because again, Revit's not going to like to match too many things to that LinkedIn model, but let's just see if it'll let me do it. Okay, so let me do a ceiling. Let me take a look at a section view, see how it looks. Let me do a new section view. Okay, so there's a ceiling that we just made. See, it's the funniest thing. You can see the old ceiling right there. Wow. I am stumped. Ah, a rookie mistake. A rookie mistake. Okay, so see what happened there. That was really cool. So ceilings were turned off in the building shell model, but it affected all of the ceilings, even in the LinkedIn model. So now I have to get rid of the ceiling that I just drew. So let's go ahead, and if I undo it, it'll mess with the model. Well, that was a good one to learn. That was a good one to learn. I hadn't experienced that before. Cool. Well, you learn something new every time you make a model. Okay. All right. So let's take a look at it now. Ta-da! There it is. It's a little bit high. I'm going to move it down just a little bit. Of course, it's not going to let me because it's the linked model. Okay, that's okay. We're going to leave it for now. So yeah, the ceiling's now showing up, but it's popped up an inch above the one next to it. That's going to drive me nuts. It'll probably drive you nuts too. So I'm going to go ahead and shift that down, but I'm going to reload the model and reload the LinkedIn model. So you won't have to watch that part, but it'll be fixed eventually. Okay. And let's see, what are we going to do next? Let's go ahead and take one last look. I suppose I can live with that little 1-inch lip there for now. Now what I need to do is move this structural floor up. So let's talk about this floor. We created this really early on, and it indicates the very bottom level. Let's take a look. See, you can see it right there. Okay. So what we have to do is move it up so that it's hidden behind this plinth. And so the hidden behind the plinth and the wall. So what I'm going to do is I am going to move it up. So if I want to attach these walls to that base, see when I click on the walls, it says detached top base or attached top base. So we're going to attach top to base. Let's see. See how it says down here, select the roof on the lower left here. Select the roof, ceilings, or parallel walls to which the selected wall should be attached. So you select the walls. Okay, so it's giving me this message because remember there's an opening in that wall over there at the very front of the building. Here, I'll show you. It doesn't want to move because there's a bunch of openings and low things and high things. And so it doesn't want to connect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unjoin the elements. And I'm going to keep it. I'm not going to connect the top to base. But I think I can do it manually. Let's see. Yep, it'll let me do it manually. That's good. And I'm going to shift this up. Okay. Now the problem is that there's a wall on the back wall on the other side will have to be fixed. Here, let me show you. Let's go ahead and I'll show you in a different section. This wall is going to have to connect top to base. So let's look at it this way. See? Okay. All right. So all of the walls now are going to be connected to that structural floor, and the structural floor has been moved up. You can see it right here. Okay. Okay. So that part is done. Let's take a look at the elevation, looking south. Okay, and so see that little lip that was there before? That little bit of structural floor, now that's gone, so that looks good. Okay, see, it's gone. Beautiful. All right, now we've got the structural elements figured out and kind of fixed. Let's move to the architectural ones. So we have in here that floating column that was a revolve that we created way back when. And you can see it right there. Remember we made that? So now we've got to move it. And because it actually needs to sit right here. That's where those two columns go. And you can see them in the elevation views, which I've hidden right now to make our view a little bit easier to see. But those columns we made, they sit right there, and they sit right there as well. So what's kind of interesting about these columns is that they were created in a certain reference plane, and so they're not going to want to move, and I'll teach you how to fix that in just a second. I want to go ahead to a wireframe, and I'm going to grab that column right there. Now, when I move it, you'll see my arrows are moving it up and down and sideways and backwards and forwards, but it's not really going where I want it to go. So I have to get it in a view where I could actually see it and it's close to where I can manipulate it. So let's go back to hidden lines. Let me go grab that column. Oh, there it is. Okay. Now, because I created it in using that reference plane, it's not going to behave really the way that I want it. And it's only going to move like what we say in AutoCAD orthographically, up and down and side to side. And we actually need it to move with a little bit more freedom. And so the way you do that is you hit edit in place, click on the column, and you'll see this thing. This disassociates the work plane from it, and it's going to allow us to move it around with a little bit more freedom. See? So if I click this button, I don't know if I unclicked it or clicked it. Now I should be able to move it with some more freedom. Eek. Okay, let's take a look at it in the floor plan. And it's going to be a little tricky to see because we really have no idea in the CAD universe where this thing is. Because even though it looks like we're moving it like in front of the building, we may not be. So let's go ahead and find it. We got a rogue column there we got to get rid of. So see, it's kind of hard to find it. Well, it's somewhere in the universe. I got some stuff floating around. Okay, I'm going to try one more view of it, see if I can grab it. Okay, we ought to be able to see it now. Okay, so there it is. All right, there it is. Okay, so what we're going to do is move it up, and I'm using my arrows here. I'm going to grab it by its midpoint, and I'm going to put it right there. It's a little bit hard to see because of all the textures and things that I already have on here. And the only real way around that is you can adjust some of the visibility settings just a little bit to have realistic colors and things. But you know, you can remove some of the patterns and things like that, but it only comes temporarily. The other thing you have to do is you can all just paint it white and then paint it back if you want to. Okay. Okay, so there's one column. Now let's make sure it's elevation wise it's okay, but let's go ahead and take a look at it in the floor plan now that we can actually see it. All right, so there it is. So now let's go ahead and grab it and move it back. There we go. So I did disassociate. Find it, place it on a new reference plane so I could see it. And then disassociate it again. Okay, so let's go ahead and there it is. Finally, there it is. Okay, so what I'm going to do now real fast is edit in place again. I'm going to grab it, change the material quickly to travertine before anything else crazy happens with this column. Perfect. Let's grab it and see how it okay, good. So it's travertine like the rest of it. Okay, so now I'm going to copy it here. And if I can, I'm going to copy it over there too. Otherwise, I might have to mess with it a little bit more. Okay, good. Still looks good. Okay, now I'm going to grab these two and I'm going to copy them. And I'm going to see if I can do it in the elevation view. Okay, they're where they're supposed to be, so that's good as far as elevation goes. And then now what I need to do is I actually need to get a pair of columns in there. So I'm going to do one set and then I will mirror them so that they're the same. So let me go ahead and look at this in a better view. See if I can see it here. Okay, so I can see it in level 3. Let's go ahead and move it over. Looks like the column got a little bit off center with the extrusion somehow, the sweep, and that's what that little gap is. Trying to get it centered, but it's not liking, I'm assuming not liking me using the frontispiece as a reference. I'm not sure. Okay, let me see if I can, how does this look again? 3D view. How does it look based on the elevation? So you can see here, even in the CAD file, the elevations for the columns aren't the same. All right, let's go ahead and mirror these. I'm going to grab them both and then draw a mirror line. One, two, three. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so there's our paired columns in a travertine finish, looking good. The next thing we're going to do is move down to the plan view. And I'm going to move the nosing of the stair in just a little bit. And you can see here, this is called the nosing or the tread of the stair. And you can see it's coming off just a little bit. And I want to move it in because I don't want that corner in the real world. I don't want it to get chipped off or knocked off or anything like that. So I'm going to go ahead and just move this in just a little bit. Okay, looks better. And that just kind of protects it a little bit from the elements and people knocking against it, moving furniture and dollies and things like that in front of it. You can see there's just a little bit of a gap there, but I'm not going to worry about it. Again, it just comes down to, you know, we could just mess and tweak with this forever, but we have to stop eventually. But let's go ahead and look at the finishes that we can adjust with the stairs themselves, because we may get to have options on the finishes. It does not look like it. So our only option really for here is to just paint it. And the reason why, there's probably a pretty good reason why. The first is that there's so many options for Do I have two stairs here? No. Okay, the reason why it's not going to allow us to have all the functionality about the stairs like we normally have with the windows is my guess is probably because there's so many things that are able to be changed in a set of stairs that most designers would want to create their own parameters for that and then assign them, which is fine, but we're not going to spend the time to do that. You can if you want to, just for the practice, but I'm going to just paint them for right now, because we certainly have a beautiful travertine sample that we can paint very easily. So it looks like I've got floor on top of that. So I'm gonna have to edit that again within the frontispiece. You'll see there's a little riser behind that. And then we'll get the nosing. So you can see where the linking two files has a lot of convenience to it because it allows multiple people to work on files and the file itself to not get so big. However, it does make things a little bit difficult when you have to try to calibrate the two because it doesn't allow you to do everything to both models at the same time. And it's similar to if you've ever used AutoCAD and you've had, your current layer set to, furniture, and you drew an electrical outlet on the furniture layer, and then maybe you went to print the plans and that electrical outlet didn't show up and the electrician never put it in because you drew it on the wrong layer. That's one of the things that Revit is trying to prevent by, not allowing us to draw on a linked uh, file. So anyway, that's the reasoning behind it. Okay, we're almost done. Let's go ahead now and look at the south elevation, and I want to mess with this door just a little bit because it lacks severe and significant soul here. Now, we all know how to make really beautiful custom doors, and we could certainly spend some time making this door look just like the outline here. But for right now, what I'm going to do is just um, change some of the finishes to it. So I'm going to hit, let's go ahead and see real quick if we got anything else exciting. I don't remember there being particularly beautiful doors. Yeah, these are all sort of uninspired. So let's go ahead and change this door. So I'm going to go to Edit Type. I'm going to duplicate. And I'm going to change this to this door to match Gothic window. Okay, so I'm going to change the frame material to, you guessed it, travertine. Now, a door casing in travertine would be a little bit difficult to make, although they can be made. You can also clad them. You can have fake travertine that's a little bit easier to mold and shape. You just pour it in molds and it's a composite. You could faux finish it, or you could use real travertine. So we're going to change ours to the most expensive option, which is the real travertine. And then I'm going to, I want to edit one more part of that door. I want to edit the panel material from birch, and I want to use our tracery material so that they all match. Okay, now that door should be dark brown, same color as the tracery in there. Again, not the most beautiful door in the world, but a door nonetheless. And then you can see there's another um, door window. Let's take a look on the third floor. So let's go ahead and place a door here.